Hey heroes, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge. What's your favorite way to deal DPS in Age of Wonders 4? Shock? Physical ranged? Magic ranged? Your hero? Other than my charming spiders build, I surprisingly haven't been using physical ranged builds in the game. And possibly the reason why the charming spiders won't get nerfed is that it seems like all ranged buffs don't affect scout units. So in today's video, I'm going to go through a powerful ranged build that I like to call the Frost Elves. What makes this build so good is that the archers become so powerful that you actually don't need to fill up your army with them and only need a few to wreak havoc. You'll have problems though when your opponents have quick reflexes and are harder to hit though, so you'll need some melee units to protect you in those cases. We'll start off with the body and mind traits where I've selected Keen Sight and Arctic Adaptation. Keen Sight is a duh, so that you are more accurate with ranged attacks. Better accuracy means you're able to shoot more accurately from farther away, keeping you away from your enemies. We picked the Arctic Adaptation trait more for flavor than anything else. If you don't want flavor, I personally always like to pick Overwhelm Tactics, as I feel the increased chance to crit is significant. We pick the Barbarian Culture, which gives us access to 2 ranged units early, the Tier 1 Skirmisher and the Tier 2 Fury. While strong and has the ability to sunder armor, the Skirmisher has no armor, so be careful when having them near the front lines. I also like the Tier 1 Shield unit for the Barbarian Culture, which has the ability to Shield Bash and has a high chance to stun a unit, allowing you to isolate enemies and prevent your army from being swarmed. In terms of society traits, we've picked Fabled Hunters, which gives your ranged units +1 rank, and Runesmiths for the decreased enchantment costs, because by the end of the game, your archers will have 5+ different enchantments. We might be in trouble if down the road in a future DLC where there is something that will dispel enchantments. Onto the first Tome of Magic, I've selected the Tome of Cryomancy primarily for 3 things: the Ice Damage enchantment for both ranged and melee, and Ice Coffin, a low damage spell that has a high chance of freezing a target. Frozen targets cannot act for 1 turn and will take additional damage from units enchanted with frost weapons, which makes it a great target to burst down. Finally, to complete the faction, we select a Wizard King leader primarily for the increased mana income. The weapon doesn't matter too much in my opinion. You can go shield to protect your archers or use a bow yourself, but I recommend taking support skills when leveling up that will increase your army's accuracy, range, and crit chance. On to tomes that you should select after you finish the Tome of Cryomancy. The Tome of Enchantment is critical because it gives a ranged buff that increases the ranged attack by 1 tile. A good choice after this is the Sundering Blades that helps your melee units. Tier 2 has some critical ranged buffs that will start to make your archer army click. We will pick the Tomes of Amplification and Scrying, specifically for Amplified Arrows and Guided Projectiles. Amplified Arrows makes your projectiles essentially chain lightning, while Guided Projectiles negates units hidden in foliage. If you can spare the stability, Amplify Minds can increase your tome research. The spell Mental Mark in the Tome of Scrying is a great AoE debuff that'll make your enemies easier to hit. Unfortunately, I don't feel any other spells in these tomes are very useful, so once you get the enchantments, just try to finish those tomes quickly and get to the next tier. In Tier 3, your build will essentially be completed with the Tome of Cycles and the Projectiles of Decay enchantment that adds blight damage to all ranged units, adds a blight dot, and prevents units from healing. The Tome of Cycles has some other great choices, including the Druid of the Cycle, a tier 4 support unit that has a spell that can insta-kill damaged units. I also like Diffuse Health and Parting Gifts, spells that damage and heal at the same time. The other tier 3 tome I like to select is the Tome of the Cold Dark, which is more for theme again. It has Marching Winter, a city spell that will turn province biomes into Arctic and give buffs to food and production income on those tiles. This will slow down your opponents and help you. I like Flash Freeze for its ability to damage an army and make them more susceptible to negative status effects like getting frozen. And finally, the Snow Spirit unit has an attack that can freeze enemies, and remember, your army that is enchanted with frost weapons will deal 20% more damage to frozen enemies. At this point, your archers and skirmishers will be heavily powered up by enchantments, but the tome selections has also buffed your melee units as well. Remember to soften up your targets first with the skirmishers who can sunder armor, causing enemies to take more damage, and to use your shield units to stun and slow down your opponents, so your ranged units can make them into pin cushions. So that is my Frost Elves build. Give it a try and let me know what you do to improve upon it. Check out the rest of my channel for other videos on Age of Wonders 4, video games, board games, and other fun things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.